Hey friends. So today I'm showing up to do a video that was requested. So I made a promise to my members in Your More Than Your Stuff that I would do a video that is speaking intentionally to that voice of kindness. So this is something that I have mentioned on other videos, so it may be familiar to you, but I wanted to have one where it was super easy to find, that people could just sort of see the title, know what it's about, and really kind of laser focus on the content, because it's one of the biggest stumbling blocks that I see in the decluttering community. I know that it has been a struggle for me. It's been a struggle for my clients. It's a struggle in all the communities that I guest coach in. So let's talk about why the voice of kindness actually matters. So I usually make a joke, and I always say that being difficult on ourselves and self-shaming, that if that actually did anything good and productive, that I would be out of the job as a coach and as a therapist. And it's true, because nobody ever books me and says, Selena, I am being amazing to myself and I'm getting so much done. Can you come and help me? So that's not why people need my services. It's usually because I feel like I'm spinning my wheels. I feel like I'm constantly in the same cycle of too much stuff. I get down on myself. I get really hard on myself. I want to quit. Any kind of progress that I made, big or small, the stuff starts to accumulate again. And then I start self-shaming. And then we're at that top of that cycle, right? And so it just keeps going and going. And this is something that if I could reach as many people in the world to help them realize that this doesn't really move us towards productivity, it's actually a stumbling block. Like that's probably just my life's work. That's my one big wish, is I want people to be kinder to themselves. And we need to have a little chat about why, because sometimes people think, okay, well, you know what? No, if I'm going to accomplish something, I have to be really hard on myself. There are definitely times when we know that we have to push ourselves a bit, right? I mean, it happens. We are like watching too much Netflix, or we're reading too many books, or, there's something that just we're doing the favorite thing. We don't want to stop knitting. We don't want to stop creating. We don't want to stop building. And so we just start ignoring the clutter. So there is definitely a happy medium. Personally, I think that we need high levels of self-care to have the energy and the stamina and the patience to show up for the clutter and to show up for our stuff. But I'm talking today about talking to ourselves in a way where the self-shame is really oppressive. Like we're actually being really mean to ourselves. And there are things that we would say to us that we wouldn't say to our best friend, right? So you're probably wondering, well, why do I need to be kind to myself? How is that actually going to help me in my decluttering journey? And the reason is that kindness in itself is good for our health. When we speak kindly to ourselves, we're showing ourselves patience, we're showing ourselves grace. And that's an important part of the decluttering journey. And there are other benefits that happen when we're kind to ourselves. Things like it can lower our blood pressure. Okay. It can lower the stress hormones in our body. When we are kinder to ourselves, we think more clearly, we breathe better, our heart rate is better, we sleep better, we actually even digest our food better. So there is a lot of science out there that says being kind to our bodies is a very good thing. But where do we put so much of our energy? We put it into self-shaming, right? We put it into telling ourselves that we're useless, that we're never going to accomplish something, that, why should I even bother? Because it's just going to get messy and I don't know how to keep a clean house. I was shamed by my parents, by my grandparents. I was bullied in school. There's all of these voices that come into our body to tell us that we are not enough. And those voices are not your voice of truth. Okay, it may be something that you're used to hearing. You may have heard that in other places and then internalized it to be your truth. Okay, but it's not your truth. There is no baby that is born on this planet who is born with a voice of shame. That's really important to remember. So if we're not born with that inner voice, where does it come from? It tends to come from outside forces, and it's not always intentional. If we have a parent and we see that parent being really hard on themselves because they can't keep a clean house, so we see them become ashamed, sometimes we internalize that shame ourselves, right? Sometimes people with good intentions when we're younger would help us clean our bedrooms and kind of make jokes on the side about how, I'll probably be back here in 2 weeks anyways, because so-and-so is going to mess up their bedroom again. They just don't know how to keep anything clean. Those little things, they're not malicious, right? But sometimes we tend to really internalize those quite deeply, and then we live it out to be our truth. So the reason why I want you to think about kindness is because shaming doesn't serve you. Okay. There's a difference between pushing yourself a little bit to show up for your space and shaming yourself to show up for your space. Okay. It's one thing to say, okay, you know what? There's this thing that I've been putting off. I need to try and get to it. Let's just try for 10 minutes and I'll see how I feel. That is different. That's pushing yourself a little bit versus, excuse me, versus you saying, you know what? You're always useless. You've just been sitting on the couch. Just go get the darn thing done. Okay. So one has a bit of grace to it. The other one sometimes has more colorful words, but I didn't want to say that on YouTube. So, if you're using more colorful words and you're kind of shaming yourself, you're being really hard on yourself, maybe you'll get the thing done, but it actually makes it harder to show up for the space. Grace and kindness can serve you. We already know that it's good for your health, right? And one of the things that I ask my clients a lot who really struggle to let go of that hard inner voice is I ask them, what do you get out of using that voice? How is that serving you? Because sometimes we need to dig into the why. Why do we talk to ourselves like that? Right? Where is that feeling of not enoughness? Where's that coming from? And how can we rewrite the script? Because we can. Just because you've been saying it to yourselves for decades and decades and decades doesn't mean it can't be rewritten, right? Sometimes I like to take a hard negative thought and I call it playing the reframe game. So let's reframe it. So we can, instead of saying, I'm useless at this, we can say, XYZ is something that I'm struggling with. Can I learn a new skill set? Can I ask for help? Can I hire it out? I'm all about, if there's something you really struggle with, hire it out, right? If it's fixing things around the house, if there's things that need to be repaired and that's holding you up on your decluttering journey, go to the people with the superpowers that are not yours, right? But when we reframe something, we're challenging our brain to kind of create a new little pathway and open up the idea that there can be grace and patience present. So I'm going to challenge you to take some of the thoughts that don't serve you, try reframing them, and then email me at declutteringcoachcanada@gmail.com or write it in the comments or show up on my Facebook group. I've got a free group there. And if you do need more support, we have some incredible people in my group program. You're more than your stuff. So if you look in the About section, you can find ways to reach me, to purchase the membership. We do have a payment plan available. And we've got this judgment-free, warm community that's waiting to welcome you. But in between now and then, I would like you to practice just being kind to yourself, whether it's about your job, whether it's about your relationships, whether it's about school, whether it's about work. You've got all these options to put it into practice. And the more that we practice it, the easier it's going to become. Okay, because right now we go to our default, which is whatever inner voice that you're currently using. Okay, but you don't have to shame yourself in order to be productive. And that's the big takeaway. So in the meantime, keep doing the next right thing.